Let's get started right away with the game that just ended. That would be number 1 Georgia versus number 4 Ohio State, playing in what was a de facto home game for the Georgia Bulldogs. Final score 42-41, and it was a doozy from the jump. Let's start from where I think a good jumping off point is Ohio State came out absolutely boxing in this. Not a lot of folks expected them to show up in the way that they did, especially not having Jackson Smith and Jigba, which has basically been true since week 1. Not having Travion Henderson, which has basically been true since the 9th week of college football. I mean, we're talking about really missing him against Michigan and really missing him for the next 4 weeks after that. And then losing Marvin Harrison Jr., but I'm getting ahead of myself there. So Ohio State is ahead 28-24 at half. And it felt like Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs were going to get this figured out, especially as, well, we had yet to see the emergence of one Brock Bowers as Darnell Washington left the game in the second half. He was in a boot. Cade Stover needed to be taken to a local hospital with back pain. So both outstanding tight ends in this game were lost for most of the game. And that really sucks because we all want to see the best players playing the biggest games of the season. But I thought it was really interesting that one of the players that I had highlighted that Ohio State needed to take advantage of was one in which many people thought was there for the picking. That was Kelee Ringo, the hero of the 2021 National Championship Georgia Bulldog team, and really a feast or famine type of player. If you're looking for an NFL comp, I'd say Trayvon Diggs, right? Because Trayvon Diggs is that dude. He will jump a route. He'll also get torched on a route because that's just the way he wants to play football, and it works for him. Kelee Ringo is that guy because he's not totally sound with his technique, but is supremely talented. He can take those sorts of chances. And early on, we got to see the likes of Marvin Harrison Jr. going at his neck, especially to start in the first half. And then a little bit later on, we get to see them go away from Marvin Harrison Jr. as the rest of the playbook started to open up for CJ Stroud and Ryan Day. And it was a great day for CJ Stroud and Ryan Day. Let's not get that twisted. That dude had over 300 yards passing, and he was flipping the ball not just to Marvin Harrison Jr., but Emeka Egbuka. And, of course, Julian Fleming was coming on a little bit strong toward the second half when there was no Marvin Harrison. But why was there no Marvin Harrison? You'll remember going into the fourth quarter of this game, right, just before it, Marvin Harrison Jr. was going up for a ball that it looked like CJ Stroud was trying to throw out of the back of the end zone, but just ended up being a duck. Going up for that ball, and he gets hit in what we think is the head, right, by Javon Bullard. It's not rule targeting, but if anybody's watching that game, it's like, oh, so Marvin Harrison Jr. knocked himself silly? Because it feels like you got to hit that dude in the head for him to be down and go into concussion protocol. Huge call or non-call, depending on your point of view here, but it means that Marvin Harrison Jr. will not play the rest of that game, and that had to figure in to not just how Ohio State was playing the rest of its game, but how Georgia was choosing to defend Ohio State. Now, going up 14 after hitting a field goal on that play where it looked like they were going to have an opportunity to score 7 there, you got to think that that was the game there. Now, I'm also looking at this game going, Ohio State's leading 38-24 to start the fourth quarter. That's a game that you ought to win if you're a Buckeye fan, and one that you don't feel great about if you're a Georgia fan. I thought it was targeting after that, but it doesn't really matter because if you're leaving it up to the officials, you haven't done your job as a football team. Now, we also got to see that LeBron James is still out there absolutely showing love to his Buckeyes. I thought it was really interesting that even at 38, one of the things that he wishes he had done in his life was play football for The Ohio State University. And I think all of us kind of salivate over what kind of a wide receiver he might have been. Some of y'all want to line him up in tight end and really just not take advantage of his Megatron-like abilities. But I'm one of those folks that would have loved to see that dude in a Buckeye uniform and, frankly, playing basketball too. Didn't go that way, but it's nice to think about. And it's also nice for him to share some sort of, I should say, something in common with Marvin Harrison Jr. in that, I think they both would have been pretty great wideouts. But the dude that absolutely put Georgia back into this football game is another wide receiver. Name's Kearis Jackson. Came up with a huge play that Georgia had to have because when you're down by 2 scores, going into the fourth quarter, you got to strike, and you got to strike quickly. Because if you want to play the kind of methodical football that I know Kirby Smart wants to play, you're going to need to put yourself into striking distance. And they were able to do that with guys like Kearis Jackson getting together on that last drive. And then you're closing in on Ohio State. You feel as if you get a stop on Ohio State, you have a chance here. And Stetson Bennett came up big with some passes. I didn't think that he'd be able to pull this out, but he did with minutes left to go in the game. And then you give Ohio State the ball back with just under a minute left to play. Man, I think everybody was thinking what I was thinking at the time, which is you want to get Noah Ruggles in the field goal range because it felt like Noah Ruggles was going to make that kick for you, right? He'd been that guy for them most of the year. He gets in the field goal range. It's a 50-yarder and misses it left. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the Buckeyes. It was there for them. But what this also meant is an outstanding football game and an outstanding finish to a football game. If you're Ohio State, you acquitted yourself well, right? You wanted into this game. Ryan Day was very, very loud about, I'm going to be aggressive. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to take advantage of this second opportunity that we have. We're going to leave it all out on the field. Now, one other point that I just missed on my own rundown here is Kirby Smart's ability as a football coach to make a football coaching decision when the game's on the line. So you'll remember that Ryan Day had Georgia all the way set up for a fake punt that it felt like they were going to get, right? And right before the snap, either Kirby Smart saw it or somebody got in his ear, but he called timeout, right? And that felt like perhaps the best football play of the game. This is actually a take that I get from senior producer Catherine Donnelly, who is an avid SEC fan. Congratulations to her Vols. But also, if you don't make that call, if you don't make that timeout, and you are Kirby Smart, and they convert that fourth down into a first down, we don't talk about this game in the way we are. I think that Ohio State would have been able to eat more clock and prevent Georgia and Stetson Bennett from having an opportunity to go take a lead at all in this game. Even as they scored late, I was like thinking maybe CJ Stroud and that offense can figure something out. And then you remember that Marvin Harrison Jr., your fixer for everything, is not in this game anymore. The guy for which you just say, hey, Marvin, save us. Throw it up. We're going to go get it to you. Didn't have him there for you. And shout to Georgia and its defense, which found a way, right? Nobody wants to give up 41 in a game, especially Kirby Smart and his defense. But if you are Ohio State, you did. You put up 41 on that team, defending national champs. And I thought they played an outstanding football game. I feel bad for all of the Buckeyes because I understand what this game meant to them, especially coming off the loss to Michigan. They would have liked nothing more than to get into the national championship game and also to get into the national championship game knowing that Michigan lost to TCU, which is where I kind of want to go with what we're talking about now, man. All right. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.